Hello, my name is Teacher Tina, and I teach for VIPKid. I also coach candidates through the hiring process. Now, I have a confession. I hesitated to make an example video for months. I've been getting asked to make this video, and I've just hesitated, and here's why. I had a fear that if I released a simple example video showing exactly how to pass, then people would copy it, maybe like you, let's suppose it's you, that you would copy it and pass to the mock. Then you'd watch a mock example, copy it, and move on to your real classroom. What would happen when you got your real students at that point? Would you be equipped to teach a class? Would you feel comfortable preparing for a class? Maybe, but probably not, right? So that's why when I'm coaching my candidates, we not only talk about examples, but we talk about why we're doing things the way we're doing things. So I like to equate this to the Chinese proverb, right? So you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Okay, so I know you probably just want fish, right? You probably just want an example. Yeah, but it's really going to help you more to explain my thinking. So what I'm going to do for you today, I'll give you fish, but I'm also going to go slide by slide throughout the demo interview and break it down for you so you can think about how you want to present the slides. Not so that you can just copy, because maybe you'll get some great ideas, but so that you are better prepared for every stage of the process and for your eventual students. So let's get started. So this is probably what you are looking at. Feel free to pause this video at any time if you want to practice what you just heard. That's a really great way to practice your fishing, right? So anyway, so this is the first slide that you'll see. It's just the intro slide to the actual PowerPoint. You don't do anything with this slide, so you can just skip to the next one. So this is all about the lesson, right? So this is talking about what the vocab is, what the sentence patterns are that you need to be focusing on, and these really should be the focus of your lesson. You can have all the energy in the world, and that's amazing, but if your student doesn't learn, then that's a problem. So be sure that you are comfortable with these things. Then the next slide that you see, this is the first slide that your student would be looking at, right? It says, my feelings. You don't need to read my feelings. You don't need to read the word VIPKid aloud. This is just really an intro slide, more so for you and your student. Don't think about it as much as I'm introducing my feelings, as I'm introducing myself to my student, and my student is introducing himself to me. So on this slide, for example, you may want to do something like this. Hello, what is your name? Hi, Joyce. My name is Teacher Tina. Joyce, how old are you? 5? I am 5 years old. Good job, Joyce. Very good. Okay, so that's all you really would need to do on that slide. You really are just introducing yourself. You can have a little name tag for yourself if you'd like. You don't really need to ask a ton of questions to your student here. You want to build some rapport, so I would suggest asking something like, how old are you? That's probably the easiest thing to ask. In reality, you're teaching the student about feelings, so if you ask, how are you? Your student may not have a great response at this point anyway, but they probably would know I'm fine. So if you really want to ask it, you can ask it. You have a lot of freedom here, so just remember, make it your own, and you'll do fine. So this is the first slide. You'll know that the second slide is about the reward system. I get a lot of questions about the reward system slide. You do not need to do the exact one that is on here. The one that they have is about bananas. If you want to use bananas, that's totally fine. You can do that. You could even give fish, right? Or teach how to fish if you wanted. It really is up to you. The main thing that they're looking for with the reward system is that you utilize it. So whether you do fish or pizza or flowers, stars, whatever you choose to do is fine. Just be sure that you're using it, and ideally you'll have it somewhere that your student can see it throughout the class. That's a little bit more motivating, right? So you can introduce it on this reward system slide. I know some candidates like to introduce it just at the end of that first slide. So I'll show you an example of that. So for example, let's say I just asked the student's name, and I just got the student to say a full sentence, right? So I said, I am 5 years old. Good job, Joyce, good. When you do a good job, you get a fish. A fish. Good. And then you can just move on. If you want, you can say, are you ready? The student may not know what to do with that question, so you can just move on. But if you want to ask it, you totally can. But again, you can introduce that reward at the end of this first one or on the actual reward slide itself. That's totally your call. Whatever you feel makes more sense for you depending on what your reward system is. And then you move on to the warm-up. The warm-up, okay? So you do not need to read the words warm-up. That will not make sense to the student probably. So you just kind of jump right in. So I suggest that you break it down for your student. So you probably want to read the slide, right? The title of the slide. So you would say, my feelings. Good. When I am sad, I feel like crying. Good. And then you would just go through the rest of the slide this way, right? So you want to probably break each line down into two. If you read the bottom of the slide with the teacher directions, it just says that the teacher reads the poem line by line with action and emotion. And then it says teacher models, then encourages student to either repeat or act. Ideally, your student will do it with you, but if your student doesn't, that's okay. You definitely want to try to get them to repeat as much as possible throughout the lesson. That is something that you are evaluated on, is how much student output you have. So you want them talking as much as possible. So you'll go through, be sure that you are really expressive with this. Personally, I think you don't probably need props for this one because you can make a sad face and you can make an angry face and you can make a happy face. Your face is kind of the best prop you have for the feelings slides. So, whatever you choose to do with this slide, it's really just to get the student warmed up. So that's the warm-up slide. You don't need to transition to the next slide. I would probably give a reward again, just to remind the student, since it's a new idea, oh, I'm getting a reward. I would probably, at the end of that one, after this kid says, I smile all day. Good job. You get a fish. My fish just swam backwards. Anyway, I would suggest giving rewards when you feel they're necessary. You don't need to give one at the end of every slide, and honestly, I think that might be a little too much, but it's totally your call. Next slide is called Find the Sound, okay? And think about what that means. Find the sound. The sound. Okay, so the focus here is not just on the letter M, more so on the Okay, so if we read the bottom, it says teacher, pronounces each word and prompts student to circle the right picture of which initial sound matches with M. Okay, so I have heard varied things about whether you should even say the letter M on this slide. I personally don't think you need to, but I've heard some feedback from other candidates that their interviewer said they should have at least said it once, so it's your call. But basically, you could hold up, an M, and just say, right? And then you want to say each of the words. So you're going through mouse, monkey, and elephant. And another argument for not saying M, in my opinion, is because you don't want the student thinking M, elephant, right? You don't want them associating it with the wrong thing. So that's why I suggest focusing more on the sound. That is the purpose of this slide. So this is a really good time to use TPR or to use props. You don't have to have a mouse, a monkey, and an elephant lying around to successfully do this slide. For example, if I wanted to model, right, modeling is a beautiful thing. If I wanted to model this slide, I could simply underline the monkey, and I could say, monkey, ooh, 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 monkey, monkey, ooh, ooh, ooh. Good, right? So I want my student listening carefully. That's why I said it a couple of times. And then I could hold up my M, right? I could hold up my I'll just call it my and I can say, monkey, 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 yes or no? Yes, good, good. Circle the monkey. Circle the monkey. And you can show circling by actually, printing out the slide if you want, or drawing it on a dry erase board and showing it. I would suggest also demonstrating it on the screen since you will have the ability to do so. You could also have a picture of a mouse. Now, some students use tablets, so it may not be the perfect thing for every student, but it would at least be good for the interviewer. You could have a picture of a mouse or an actual mouse if you have one, and you could say, oh, circle the monkey, circle the monkey. And you can either circle the monkey or you can do a dotted line around the monkey. Most students understand that that means, hey, fill this in. But you basically want them understanding the purpose of this slide. The purpose of this slide, again, I'll pull it up for you. The purpose of this slide is for them to find the sound. It's not identifying big M, small m. It's not memorizing what these different animals are. It's just having them listen and say, oh, does monkey start with right? But in fewer words. So just monkey, monkey? Yes or no is your best friend. Something else to know for this slide, even though it says it's a review, we don't really want to focus too much on the animal names, right? So I don't recommend, choosing an animal and saying, what is this? Because if the student doesn't know, that's okay. This is really more about them finding the sound than recognizing the animals. So that's why you can just underline, say it, mouse, mouse. Good. Hold up your M. Mouse. Mouse? Yes or no? Mouse? Yes. Good. Right? And this was kind of a hard slide, I guess, for a review. So you could reward on this one if you want. You could wait. It's up to you. But just remember, this one's about the sound. The next one that we have is the blending one. So this is a really, really good time to have a prop. There are different ways that you can do this slide. I think the easiest way, and the way that you don't need to go and buy letters, is to write it on a dry erase board. So I have this little dry erase board. It's from the Dollar Tree, and it's really light. Like, this thing is super cheap, which is good for me. So I can even hold it under here, right? And I want to be sure that my face is in the frame, especially my mouth and my eyes, and that the student can read this as well. And just note, it will reverse it for you once you're in the classroom, so you don't need to write it backwards or anything like that. It may just record differently if you try to record yourself, but the VIPKid classroom will flip it for you. So anyway, you definitely want to be introducing the letter name because it says so on the bottom, but you're focusing more on the sound. Again, the sound. So let's just read those directions together. The directions say, teacher reads letter name and sound of each letter and demonstrates how to blend the sounds together. Okay, so yes, we want to say the letter name, but we don't need to focus on the letter name. And again, it says teacher reads the letter name. It doesn't say ask your student the letter name, right? So your student probably should know it at this point, but you just want them to be practicing blending. So, right, you can say letter B, B, B. Good. B makes the sound B, 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 B. Good. Egg, egg. B, egg. Good. B, egg, bag. Good job, Joyce. Good job. Right? And then you would go on to the leg example. Be sure that you look up your synthetic phonics. When you are blending sounds, it's really important, especially in a real class, that you are using the shortest possible sound for a sound. So, for example, it's not ba, it's not buh, it's buh, buh. So it's like as short as possible. And I will put a link to a really great synthetic phonics video below that I've found to be really helpful. Just be sure you're doing the shortest possible sound, like leg. When you're doing leg, the L, the sound for L is not la, right? Because la does not blend nicely. It would be like la, egg, lag, right? So it'd be oh. So just be sure that you're really comfortable with those so that you know what you're doing in your interview demo, in your mock class, and then in your real classes. You should be an expert at that. So basically the blending, you can model it more in the first one and then have the student be a little more independent in the second one. Just be careful with that sound, because a lot of times real students will get that one wrong and your interviewer may get it wrong too, to see how you handle it. So that's pretty much it for the blending one. You can use a board like I showed. Some of my candidates recently have had a lot of success using Post-it notes on their hands. So for example, you would put a B on this one and an egg on this one. You go B, egg, bag, right? So that's a really great way to do it. So that's pretty much some of the best ways I've found to do the blending, whatever works for you. If you want to slide letters together on a board, that's a really great way too. Just be sure that you are showing them visually how to do it. The next one here is introducing the vocabulary. Something really, 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 really important is that you should be introducing the red words first, because they're the high frequency words. So we really need to be sure our students know how to say them so they're more comfortable saying them in sentences. So if you read the bottom, it says, teacher starts from the vocabulary, feelings, and encourages student to repeat each sentence. I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel angry. Okay, so the very first thing that I recommend doing on this slide is introducing the word feelings. So you can do TPR here, you can do feelings, 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 right? You can get silly with it. In my opinion, if you say things the same exact way every single time, the student may not recognize it if it's said at a different pitch, right? So like if I always say feelings, 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 and then the student hears feelings, what is that word? So that's why I suggest switching up the pace and switching up your tone that you use with it. It'll help your student, and it'll keep the student more engaged also. So you introduce the words, like introduce feelings, and then do I have many feelings. However you choose to do that, you can do I have many feelings. Good, right? And then these ones can be super easy too, right? They're I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel angry. Use your face. You can use another prop if you have one that looks really happy or really angry or something. It may not be a bad idea to throw one or two in there. So for example, I have this little bell that you can pretty much tell feels happy. So I could use that. Just be sure, and this you don't really have much wiggle room with, be sure that you are saying the exact sentences. I feel sad. Don't say I am feeling sad or I am sad. The purpose of this slide is to have the student practicing using those sentences. So if you're straying from those sentences, that could be really confusing for your student, and the student will not meet the objective. And that's really, really important in the demo, in the mock, and in your real classes, that the student knows the exact sentences. So you'll go through these, be very expressive with it, and you don't need to spend forever on this slide, but you definitely want to repeat them all, probably 3 times a piece. The next one, this is probably the one that I get the most questions about, the Meet Dino and Lily. Now, of course, you do not have to go out and try to find a dino, because I can tell you, you probably won't find a dino. But this is a really great time to use a puppet. If you don't have a puppet, you can use a stuffed animal. You can make a sock puppet. I've had candidates make really cute sock puppets. And sock puppets are nice because the mouth moves. So ideally, you would have something that has a movable mouth. So let's read the bottom on this one. So Meet Dino and Lily. So the tips say, student reads and models the vocabulary, angry, happy. Teacher demonstrates the conversations. Teacher asks student, how do you feel? Then prompts student to answer, I feel happy, I feel angry. Okay, so the best way I have found to do this is actually to use a puppet, like I said, but to have the puppet converse with me and then converse with the student. This has just gotten a lot of really positive attention from candidates who've used it, so I recommend doing that. And this honestly is what I do every day in class as well. I just kind of naturally found that this works really well. So for example, I'm referring to my slides, of course, because I want to go word for word. Okay, so I'll do the first one. How do you feel? I feel angry. How do you feel? Good. See what I did there? So Dino, right? This is Dino. He actually kind of looks like Dino, but his mouth moves, so he's even better. So Dino was the one asking, how do you feel? And I was Lily. Then I had Dino ask the student, how do you feel? And the student was Lily. Now that may seem a little confusing, but I can tell you that it goes over really, really well, as long as you are clear in using the puppet. So like you can even step back a little bit if you want. You can use different voices. That's really helpful. I try not to move my mouth when I'm being Dino, but I'm not a ventriloquist. So I will do this example again, but for the I feel happy. So here it goes. Excuse me, I'm about to be Dino. How do you feel? I feel happy. How do you feel? Good, Joyce. I feel happy. Good. Right? So that is the easiest way I have found to do that slide. It makes it really simple. Yeah, but you can do it however you want, as long as you are modeling and engaging the student. Again, I suggest some kind of prop of some sort, ideally with a mouth that moves, so that they can understand, hey, this is a dialogue. And another reason that I like to model the conversation first is so the student can watch my mouth, right? So like, for example, if I were pretending to be, let's say that my puppet was going to be Lily, and I say, how do you feel? I feel angry. The student didn't get to see my mouth move, so it's harder for the student to repeat it. That's just my thought. So, all right, now that that slide is over, right, you definitely, I think, should give a reward for that one. That one's kind of tricky. Once that one is over, you move on to the shoot the ball. Now, I think in general, people tend to overthink this slide a little bit. It's really not that complicated, and you don't need to use a lot of language to get your point across. So let's read. It says, have student shoot the ball to the correct ring. Have student draw a line. Assist student if needed. Have student read the words after the activity. So, have student shoot the ball to the correct ring. So you can see what we're doing here, right? The student needs to be moving the happy faces to the happy hoop, but we don't need to use that many words, right? We don't even need to say ring, hoop, ball. Those are all kind of just fluff words, and I think they can be confusing. The student doesn't need to learn the word basketball on this slide. That's my thought. I think they can understand what these are doing. Certainly, if you have a basketball, you can pretend to shoot it. It might take too much time to do that, but if you like the visual, go for it. So I printed out this slide so I could show you. Of course, you would have the real screen to be using, but I would suggest either printing it out or drawing a small example of it on a board so that you can show it like in real time, and then connect it to what you're doing on the screen. Because remember, your student cannot see while you are drawing a line. So for example, let me show you. If you are in the real classroom, and let's say you're trying to demonstrate something, you're all excited, here's how you draw a line, right? And you're drawing the line, and you're looking at your student, and your student's just like, what is she doing? That's because the student cannot see what you're doing. You could be drawing for days, and the student won't see until you go, whoop, and then that whole mess shows up. So that's why I recommend doing it on a board or on a piece of paper or something first, and then connecting it to the screen. So, for example, okay, have student shoot the ball to the correct ring. Have student draw a line. So, for example, we can just say, happy, happy, happy. Good. Angry. Good. Happy. Good. Happy, happy. Draw a line. Draw a line. Boop. And then I do it on the screen, right? So you don't need to be saying, okay, you're going to find the happy face, and then you're going to draw a line to the happy basketball hoop, and too many words, right? So just have your student repeating with you. You can model the first one. Modeling is a very, very good tool. So model the first one, and then encourage your student to do it, right? So you can model the first one, and then gradually take off those training wheels. So for the next one, maybe you just underline, and instead of saying happy, you just go, right? Your student should understand that you're asking because you're doing it in pretty much the same format again. So I suggest doing at least one example on here, then drawing a line on the screen, and then getting your student to do the rest. And you can help as necessary too. All right, so there was that slide. Second to the puppet one, this is the other one that gets a lot of questions. And then, ta-da! You are at the goodbye slide, right? So what do you do here? You say goodbye to your student. But I recommend on the slide, you praise your student, right, for a job well done. You can also show your student how many rewards your student got, right? If you have time, it's only a 10-minute lesson. If you have time, you can count your rewards with your student. And since this is an emotions lesson, a feelings lesson, I have a big tip for you. Okay, so maybe fish don't make people that happy, except maybe you're enjoying this fish right now. But what does make students happy is ice cream. So let's say that I gave the reward of ice creams throughout the class, okay? And then we can say, oh, great job today, Joyce. You got 1, 2, 5 ice creams. Good job, Joyce. I am happy. I feel happy. See, you can see how easily I slipped out of the target sentence right there. Woo, crap myself. You want to be sure that if you're tying it back in, I feel happy, that you use the target sentence. Okay? So since it's a feelings one, it's super easy to be happy at the end of class. You want to show that reward. You want to thank your student or say, see you next time, something like that. So after I do that, I could say, thank you, see you soon, goodbye. Right? So again, your lesson should be about 10 minutes long. You don't really want to finish early and you don't want to go overtime. I've heard different things from different people, whether they cut you off. I actually went over my time by a little bit and he did not cut me off. But I've heard of candidates right at the 10-minute mark, their candidate or their interviewer has cut them off. So it's possible that you'll get cut off if you're going over, in which case they would probably make note of that and score you accordingly. So just be really careful. Those are the fishing tips I've got for you today. I hope that you can use them in your real classroom and use them in the demo and in the mock class to become a better teacher. I do coach candidates, like I said. I love to be a part of every part of the process, regardless of where my candidates come to me from. So yes, the sooner you ask for help, the sooner I can help you. I would love to be your referring teacher, so follow the steps below. And I hope that you will be well equipped to catch your own fish soon. Thank you so much. Happy teaching. Goodbye.